reaction tonight after an exclusive 5 on Your Side investigation revealed that some Cleveland water customers are being billed thousands of dollars for water they didn't use.
Tonight, Chief Investigator Ron Regan shows us how the water department is now coming under increased scrutiny.
Well, water customers told us they're being robbed by their utility. We also found a complaint process shrouded in secrecy. Now, the water department is coming under increased pressure to change how it operates.
Well, there's no doubt there's a lot of questions. What is the process?
Councilman Mike Polenzek is on the committee overseeing Cleveland's water department.
They are our customers. You have to provide customer service. This case, the city is not providing the customer service that it needs to provide, and that needs to change.
Yeah. Tony Bongiorno runs an auto repair shop. One day last year, he got this.
I said, there's no way we used $500 of water, especially since the meter wasn't even hooked up to the building.
And Bongiorno's not alone.
But what I do have a problem with is being robbed by my utility company.
Nina Jones is being billed more than $6 grand for water she didn't use. Jackie McFarquhar is another customer.
Did you have any idea that you were entitled to a water board review?
Absolutely not.
Her 82-year-old mother is being threatened with having her water shut off.
How big of a bill?
I am stuck with a water bill that's $3,816 and a sewer bill that's $1,700.
Confined to her bed, she's a stroke victim. Last year alone, we found more than 44,000 water customers receive shutoff notices. Yet we found the Water Review Board held only 31 customer reviews last year. 22 were denied. Why so few hearings? We went undercover, asking customer service what to do when faced with disputing huge bills and shutoff notices.
I want information from you that I can relate to her. Like, what else can she do?
That's all she can do right now. That's all I can give.
Not a word about the Water Review Board, a board created by a federal court order to protect customers and review disputed bills, is instead shrouded in secrecy. Plus, we found 130 more complaints filed with the Ohio Attorney General in the last 3 years.
Well, I am concerned about what's happening with some of the customers of the water system here in the city. One thing I think people should know is that they have a right to appeal. That is into the law. They have that right.
The water department refused to answer questions on camera, saying only that if a customer doesn't pay their bill, those costs are shifted to other customers.
A local moose lodge drowning over outrageous water bills that just can't be explained. That group being told to pay up or else.
Well, new tonight at 11 and only on 5, investigator Jonathan Walsh brings us the story of that lodge, a case he's calling one of the most puzzling yet.
It's a Sunday morning at the Moose Lodge in Northfield Village. All the money collected by the nonprofit Loyal Order of Moose goes to help many community organizations in our area, at-risk kids at this national school sponsored by the Moose. Local veterans are helped through donations.
So how does that make you feel when you're helping others?
Good. That's why I got involved in this.
Al Shaw is the governor of the lodge in Northfield that's waterlogged with a massive problem.
Do any of these numbers make sense to you?
No.
Bob Adler in the red shirt here is a member of the Moose. He's trying to figure out the lodge's $16,000 water and sewer bill.
I think everybody in the club's reaction was, it's a mistake.
Bob showed us so many questionable readings from their water account, including numerous individual days where there's normal water usage of 200 some odd gallons. But then the next day, it jumps to thousands of gallons. Then the day after that, it's back to normal.
These are their numbers pulled off of their website, supplied by the water department, and yet they won't look at them.
I gave Cleveland Water the opportunity to go on camera. Water reps decline. They did tell me they don't think there's an error on their part. However, if the unexplainable up and down usage wasn't bad enough...
We went from 215 gallons a day to 25,764 gallons a day.
Bob pointed out that in 2 years, from the end of May in 2013 to June 1st of 2015, the lodge used around 157,000 gallons. But the water department is certain that in a 36-day stretch from August 16th to September 20th of 2015, the lodge somehow used around 920,000 gallons. That's nearly 6 times the amount of the 2 previous years, all in just 36 days. To put it in perspective, an Olympic-sized pool holds 660,000 gallons. There's no pool here.
Bob told me at one point Cleveland Water actually accused the lodge of using nearly 20 gallons of water per minute during that highly questionable 36-day time frame. Let's think about that for a minute. Bob told me at one point that means in the short amount of time it took me to pour that glass of water and tell you about this, the lodge would have used 4 gallons of water.
So you might think after looking at the ridiculous amounts of water attributed to the lodge, the water department would help Moose members that spend their good time and money helping others. Nope. Instead, Cleveland Water sent them a letter threatening a lien on their property if they didn't pay the outrageous bill. It's a long-running response from Cleveland Water that On Your Side investigators have documented. Unexplained large leaks, threats of liens, and questionable customer service. And in this case with the Moose Lodge, Cleveland Water told me the water indicated on the bills went somewhere, and its engineers said that much water could go through the lodge's meter in a short amount of time.
There is no possible way they use that much water.
Jesse Niehez is the mayor of Northfield Village. Bob contacted the mayor about the $16,000 bill. The mayor then turned to his experts.
My engineer did the calculations, and he says, Mayor, there is absolutely no way that they used the amount of water that the Cleveland Water Department says they're using.
And the mayor tells me water department issues overflow into the community, too. This is a months-long leak on North Plaza Drive.
What are your fears with that?
My fear is, what if the road collapses?
The mayor also told us about a years-long problem with fire hydrants being replaced. He said he calls Cleveland Water only to be told he's on the list.
I'm very frustrated because if I have a fire and a hydrant doesn't work in front of someone's house, how do I explain that? Will we on the list?
What's frustrating to the Moose Lodge as well is that Cleveland Water sent this letter touting a so-called early leak detection warning. Surely a place that uses 100 times the normal amount of water pretty much every day for 36 days would qualify. Well, the water department told me its system did not produce the letter notification. The lodge should have gotten a leak notice, and the department is looking into why its warning system failed in this case.
Ron, your findings support what water customers have been telling you for months.
Well, that's right. At the Cleveland Water Department, they've taken service out of customer service. Instead, we found dozens of call takers who'd be fired anywhere else, and customers have had enough.
I said I work customer service. If I ever treated a customer, we had to work with patients, but a customer the way I was treated, I would no longer have a job.
Denise Kaufman called Cleveland Water for help.
For quality assurance and training purposes, your call may be monitored or recorded.
Her bill was double what she normally pays.
Describe for me the quality of customer service you experienced.
The representative was completely rude.
Rude and insisting. She used water when no one was even home.
And I said, well, there's nobody home at 10 o'clock every day for these 3 months that you're talking about.
No
you know,
one.
My children are in school, and my husband and I both work full time. He's like, well, either that or you had a leak or you've had some work done. And I said, no leak and no work. I said, so my next step is I will call a plumber.
A plumber who found no leaks. But we found Denise and scores of others are routinely abused and ignored by the very people they're paying to help understand their bills. We obtained nearly 300 pages of disciplinary records. We found 1 of every 3 violated water department policies, ranging from neglect of duty to excessive absenteeism.
Once I called and tried to make contact with the water company and was treated so rude.
74-year-old Thelma Davis never missed paying a single water bill, about $100. Then one day, her daughter found this.
Screaming, Mama, you have a bill for $27,000 worth of water. I mean, what kind of bill is this? Something happened I don't know about?
A $27,000 water bill. Thelma trusted she could call the water department and at least get an explanation.
You know, that I could get one person to work directly with me to see what could have possibly happened and see if the water company could have resolved it.
Instead, you got bounced around.
Well, to all different types of customer service reps, supervisors.
For 2 years.
For 2 years.
So she finally sued. In court, the water department agreed to settle the case. But it's taken a toll.
My blood pressure went up, still up a little bit. And it's just the way that you're being treated.
So just how rudely are customers treated? We found tape recordings revealing employees providing inaccurate billing, hanging up, and repeatedly interrupting customers who help pay more than $3 million a year in salaries for a squadron of 94 customer service reps. Plus, we found others reading at desks, using cell phones for personal calls, even making inappropriate sexual advances over the phone. And one customer service rep was overheard screaming, "I would have her up," not about to take no from no one.
And when I got this bill, I almost had a heart attack because this is not, that can't be right. It just can't be right. It just cannot be right.
Frida Wolf had questions about her bill. It was hundreds of dollars more than usual.
They'll take it as if you're doing something or saying something out of the way to them, and they'll either hang up on you or they will not allow you to speak to who you asked for.
And there's almost no consequence for rude behavior. Every one of 32 disciplined employees remains on the payroll, receiving only suspended days from work. But there are consequences for the water department.
Cleveland is ranked one above the lowest across the whole of the nation.
Andrew Heath is with J.D. Power, the most recognized customer service firm in the world. It found Cleveland's water department is ranked nearly dead last compared with others nationwide.
The city of Cleveland was one of the water utilities nationwide that had more than most customers calling up saying they had a problem with the bill and that the bill was too high.
We did find one who was fired, but not by the water department. She abandoned the workplace during a staffing emergency at Cleveland EMS that found it was an egregious act, completely disregarding the citizens of Cleveland. But that didn't stop Cleveland Water. It calls her a customer service rep, paying her $40,000 a year.
I think the relationship with the water company needs to be fixed.
Well, the water department declined to respond to our investigation, but more than 200 Cleveland water customers did. In an exclusive News5Cleveland.com survey, 90% rated customer service as terrible, and 96% said they had never heard of their right to a water review board hearing.
Ron, you have uncovered some serious failures in the oversight of customer complaints.
Well, that's right. Cleveland Water serves more than 1 million customers in 79 surrounding communities. But there's only one group charged with outside independent oversight. And we found the man who heads it up struggled to answer even basic questions. How many complaints are you aware of that the water department has received?
I have no idea.
That's Cleveland Councilman Terrell Pruitt. He's chairman of the Public Utilities Committee, a city council committee that oversees how Cleveland's water department operates. And every month has the opportunity to question both the water commissioner and the public utilities director on behalf of you, the water customer. But despite months of reporting on consumers being billed for water they never used.
They told me I had to pay it all at one time. I have no $7,000 to pay for no water bill all at one time.
How big of a bill?
I am stuck with a water bill that's $3,816.
But what I do have a problem with is being robbed by my utility company.
Chairman Pruitt, who's paid $76,000 a year by taxpayers, declined repeated requests for an interview. So we found him at City Hall, where he told us consumer complaints are not a committee issue. What questions have you raised on behalf of these customers?
Well, we don't raise questions on individual customers unless they live in the neighborhood.
Do you bring it up in your committee meetings?
It is not necessarily a committee hearing issue.
He's right. We went back and reviewed a full year of hearings. Customer service came up just once.
I get more of those calls today, I will tell you, than I ever have in my years in public office.
Instead, committee hearings are largely devoted to pending legislation impacting both the Water Department and Cleveland Public Power, not customer service.
I wouldn't know that because I don't track the individual complaints. Now, if you want to know that, you have to ask the water officials.
So we did. Last year alone, we found more than 16,000 complaints over disputed water bills. But you don't think, as the chairman of the committee, that's something you should have top of mind?
No, not at all.
That's down from 34,000 complaints 3 years ago. And our investigation continues to find customers over that exact same time period who say they're being billed thousands for water they never used. At Brian Kane's home.
But it was not a normal water bill. It was 5 times the amount of water that we typically use.
At this vacant building.
We got a water bill for a vacant building that said we owed over $2,000.
In a vacant building?
In a vacant building that had been vacant the entire time of that billing cycle.
And another customer taking the water department to court after receiving a $26,000 water bill for water she never used.
It's just the way that you're being treated. If you are senior citizens or anyone, and you pay your bills, and then all of a sudden, here comes this gigantic bill.
The water company just yesterday agreed to a settlement, dropping all but $1,000. But despite complaints, Pruitt insists customer service takes a back seat to profits.
I don't think you have a good understanding of what we do. What we're responsible for is the financial soundness of the system, to make sure the system delivering quality water.
So complaints and how customers are treated is not a concern to you?
It's 100%. It is a concern. But if it's a...
But you don't know how many complaints you've received.
Because that's not... You're always going to have complaints. When you have 44,000 customers that goes out on a quarterly basis, you're going to have anomalies.
And for customers appearing to work more for the water department than for them.
Your reporting's getting huge results for one family.
Well, that's right. They received a water bill for 5 times the normal amount. It took nearly 3 years of complaints to the water department, and nothing got resolved until they called us.
Clearly explained to them that for me to have used 5 times the amount of water, I would have had to take 5 times as many showers, drink 5 times as much water. My family would have had to wash 5 times as many clothes. It's not possible to have used that much water.
Brian Kane's been complaining about his nearly $2,000 water bill for nearly 3 years.
It gets to be frustrating when you call in and call in and call in daily. You're leaving voicemails or you're being told that you're going to get a phone call back and you don't get those phone calls back.
And for nearly 3 years, the Cleveland Water Department never mentioned his right to a water review board hearing.
No one said, well, there is a way for you to dispute this.
No.
Never came up.
Never once.
Until he called us.
We represent the Water Review Board.
It's a board created under a federal court consent decree more than 20 years ago. But we found the water department consistently fails to tell customers.
And I thank Ron because I didn't even know you guys existed. Didn't even know.
Finally, after 3 years and 30 to 50 calls to the water department for help, the Kanes were able to successfully state their case. No leaks, no running water, all certified by a plumber Kane hired. But the water department refused to budge and threatened to shut off his water.
With the countless times that he and I both have called the water company with your customer service, never once we did not know that you existed until I read his article that there's a review board. Never once. The only resolution for us was to pay the bill. That was it, where our water was going to be turned off.
Finally, after a 60-minute hearing, a board that's supposed to be independent refused to admit who it reports to.
The board is us three of the three of us.
Can I ask where you three work?
I don't know that that's relevant.
Until 2 off-camera public relations employees advised It's a public record.
The three of you work for the Cleveland Water Company.
I don't want to answer that question. Is it? I work for the water department.
I work for the Department of Utilities.
Okay.
Department of Public Utilities.
Great. The Department of Public Utilities runs the water department.
If those people making that decision work for the Cleveland Water Department, it's not an independent board.
Is there a reason why they don't know about the water review board?
Ron, we can talk about that.
No, I just got kind of asking.
We can talk about that.
I just got asking. Is there a reason? Why wouldn't they know that?
And we'll take.
I think you should have her answer that.
You're being prevented from answering?
No, I'm refusing. I'm not answering. I'm choosing not to answer.
2 days later, the Canes received a ruling. An adjustment is warranted, dismissing almost the entire $2,000 error.
They never actually admitted, certainly, to the fact that there was a problem with the water meter or where the water went. I don't know where the water went. They didn't know where the water went. That was my issue. Nobody knew what actually had occurred, but I was paying for it.
Well, owning your own home is the American dream, but we found the Cleveland Division of Water is helping destroy that for thousands of homeowners.
They're preying on families and individuals who are, stressed out in many ways in other situations, and to add this on is very difficult.
That's how Sherry Gordon describes what happened to her sister's home.
Our mortgage went from, a normal mortgage to about $4,500.
$4,500
per month, right.
What did that do to you?
It caused us to have to, sell the home. I mean, we would have foreclosed. We would have lost the home.
And it all began with a $3,000 bill for water she says they never used. And despite repeatedly questioning how their bill could suddenly skyrocket, Sherry says they received no answers until the monthly mortgage arrived.
They cowardly passed the bill or the invoice on to our mortgage holder.
That's right. Instead of providing answers, Cleveland Water allowed the bill to escalate to over $30,000 and slapped it onto the mortgage as a tax lien.
Did they alert you that they were going to do this, or did this come as a total surprise?
It came as a total surprise to us.
Never told you they put this on a tax lien?
Never told us that they put it on tax lien.
A tax lien that forced the sale for a loss, just to avoid foreclosure.
It's incredible. I mean, it's a huge, huge number of customers that are having their bills assessed onto their property taxes.
How many? We found nearly 8,000 water tax liens on homes across Cuyahoga County over just the last 3 years. In fact, Cleveland Water has been so aggressive, nearly 4 times as many homeowners are facing tax liens since 2013. We showed our findings to the Cleveland Legal Aid Society.
Does this contribute to the foreclosure crisis?
I think it does contribute to the foreclosure crisis.
A crisis that since 2012 created more than 25,000 foreclosures in Cuyahoga County alone. Frank Ford has spent years researching foreclosures.
It's a red flag to suggest that this should be looked at carefully, because I think there's some evidence that if we're not careful about how we go about collecting, if we're too aggressive, we end up shooting ourselves in the foot.
Ford says of those 3,600 water tax liens in 2015, 1 in 10 resulted in foreclosure, and 1 in 3 of those ended up vacant, increasing the likelihood of crime and vandalism.
If they just lean hard on people who may be financially strained, they could end up forcing those people out of their home over a several $1,000s bill and end up in foreclosure. You end up with a vacant home.
Plus, it costs taxpayers plenty, $10,000 to demolish just 1 foreclosed home. And while no one knows just how many foreclosures can be blamed on water tax liens,
what causes us significant concern is that there are often times where the water department is not properly billing customers. I know from personal experience that the water department does overbill people, and it can be a very long and difficult process to try to resolve that bill dispute.
There's also concern the Cleveland Water Department is violating a federal court ruling protecting water customers' rights.
Did anyone from the very beginning say to you, you have a right to a water review board hearing?
Never, never.
The Water Review Board was created by this 1987 federal consent decree, created to help water customers facing excessive bills and threatened shutoffs.
There are thousands of people, customers, and I can't speak to that. There's certainly a possibility that those violations are out there.
Hearing about your story on the radio, I was driving and I heard that you were doing a report on the water department, and it just got my blood boiling because, you know, I lost my home because of them.
And we begin tonight with an exclusive News 5 investigation and an explosive interview with a former Cleveland Water Department manager. It comes just one day after our exclusive half-hour investigation into billing tactics and customer service complaints. On your side, Chief Investigator Ron Regan shows us how his claims seem to support what customers have been telling us all year.
Well, that's right. It's one thing to hear water customers describe how they've been treated. Quite another to hear from a former top manager, blowing the whistle on what he says is really going on inside the water department.
I saw the lady on TV the other day that was concerned about her home. A lien had been placed on her home. And to see that lady cry because of water, nobody should have to do that ever.
So John Emmons is the former chief safety officer for the Cleveland Division of Water, and he remembers top management meetings.
What was the driving theme at those meetings?
Get the money back.
He's speaking out after seeing our investigation into the department posting nearly 8,000 water bills as tax liens on homes.
If they don't get you one way, they're going to get you another way, and they will eventually get the money and or your home and or whatever else, instead of sitting down and working out a program that's realistic for this person to continue to live a life that they can support themselves.
Emmons admits he left the water department after 7 months of hardball tactics. And that included get money at all costs?
That includes getting money at all costs.
And stunned by what he witnessed.
It's a callous system, and the most callous people that I know are running the system.
How high up did that go?
To the director.
And department heads.
And department heads.
For example, we found this 85-year-old water customer, disabled and wheelchair-bound, threatened with a $10,000 water bill that's now a tax lien on her home.
If I have to pay all that, it will be long, I'll be gone. I don't think I'd live that long.
Here comes this gigantic bill.
And this 74-year-old woman who had a $30,000 tax lien placed on her home. After repeatedly trying to get answers for nearly 3 years, she sued. Cleveland Water settled the case.
Once I called and tried to make contact with the water company and was treated so rude.
People that are in charge are saying, no, get the money. But if they could all sit down and say, this is what we're going to do, this is the plan that we're going to have, that would assist people who are in their 80s and 90s who are living on assisted living, and or they have a small income from their Social Security or something, that they're not taking every dime to where they can't support themselves or have any other things such as food.
And still another case where Mayor Frank Jackson once posed with Odessa Parks and her late husband on their 50th wedding anniversary. Today, his water department is shaking her down.
Yes, they'll have to take the house. I can't come up with no more than $10,000 because, you know, that's the bad part about it, because you're paying taxes.
They would hound you until they actually got what they had to, including putting liens on your home. And I think that was a little bit too far. I think it was a little bit overzealous. But you've got to realize that the department ran everything there. They were the money makers. They brought the revenue in.
This was the cash cow.
This is the cash cow for the city of Cleveland and the Department of Public Utilities.
Meanwhile, a leading organization of more than 40 Cleveland area churches is calling for action. United Pastors in Mission is calling for a moratorium on water tax liens and hearings into questionable billing tactics. I'm Chief Investigator Ron Regan.